Hi guys, I hope nobody minds, but I just wanted to basically respond to an article today in the Manila Bulletin on March the 7th, and this is a call made by UK MPs for De Lima's release. 27 members of the UK Parliament have added their voice to the growing list of international groups, leaders and personalities who are concerned over opposition Senator De Lima's continuing detention. And it goes on to read the name of the UK MPs. Apparently they have written to Ambassador Antonio Lagdameo, the Philippine Ambassador to the UK. The signatories of the letter include Right Honourable Dame Diana Johnson, Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Human Rights Group, Harriet Baldwin, Paul Bloomfield, Dawn Butler, to name but a few. It says, as Senator De Lima enters the 5th year of her incarceration, we add calls made by many others for her immediate release and an end to the continuing erosion of democratic freedoms in the Philippines. Let me start by addressing the first point. The question is, do any of these UK MPs live in the Philippines? Have they ever been to the Philippines? Have they any connection at all with the country? They are saying there are no democratic freedoms in the Philippines. I completely disagree. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte was elected by 16 million, if not more, Filipinos in a fair election. What can I say? President Duterte allows people to protest. He allows rallies. He has even instructed the police in the past to exercise maximum tolerance whenever there have been protests. He's even agreed to meet protesters. So to say there is no democratic freedom is absolute rubbish. You know, there will be many liberals and many opposers to President Duterte who will say there are no freedoms in the Philippines and that democracy is being eroded and that we can't protest. Well, that's not the case, because recently I was able to do a petition to Rappler and I successfully managed to deliver it to the offices of Rappler. You know, the fact is, if there was no democratic freedom, you wouldn't be allowed to even raise a petition. You wouldn't be allowed to have any form of protest. Of course, there are democratic freedoms in the Philippines. These British MPs have been listening to fake news, and I'm really sorry to say a lot of people have been saying, Britain, we don't need you. But the fact is, I'd like to apologise. As a UK national, as a British citizen, I would like to say, not in my name. You know, these MPs, of course I voted in the previous election, but I didn't expect any of these MPs to come out with such outrageous calls. The Philippines has its own justice system. It is a sovereign nation with its own courts and its own process. Just recently, De Lima has been found not guilty, if you like, of one of the 3 charges. So if there was not a democratic process in the Philippines, if there was not a judicial process in the Philippines, how has she been found not guilty? You know, the courts operate separately from the government. The government has no connection whatsoever with the legal process in the Philippines. And the fact is, although De Lima has been found innocent in one of the 3 charges, she still has 2 charges outstanding. And these are charges related to accusations that she was running some kind of drug network or drug den in a prison in the Philippines. You know, I don't know the full story. I don't know the full situation. But the fact is, President Duterte didn't order her arrest. President Duterte didn't suddenly say to the police, so go and arrest De Lima. That's not how it works. There is a due process, and the Philippine government and the Department of Justice followed the due process. How would the United Kingdom like it? How would these MPs like it if all of a sudden some members of the Philippine Senate wrote to the British ambassador in the Philippines and asked them to release a particular suspect in the UK? Why would they do that? Why would they interfere with our justice system? And the same note would apply in this case. The UK government or UK MPs have no reason whatsoever to interfere with the judicial process. You know, De Lima is actually, of course, she's innocent until proven guilty, but she's a suspect in a particular case, and she's been held in a non-bailable offence, which means this is the same process in the UK. If you are charged with a offence that's non-bailable, you'll be held in custody for your own protection and for the protection of others until such time as your case comes to trial. What do these MPs not understand about due process, about the process of law? And then it goes on to talk about, at the same time, the UK parliamentarians also condemned the human rights abuses happening under the Duterte regime, including extrajudicial killings. Has the UK government gone to the Philippines, and has the UK government seen President Duterte or anyone in the Philippine government pay a penny, pay any money whatsoever, or arrange any killings whatsoever? No. President Duterte does use rhetoric in his speeches because he's inherited a massive problem. He's inherited a problem of 4 million Filipinos addicted to drugs. And this is not any drug. This is shabu, which is a really, really nasty, powerful, mind-altering drug that makes people do disgusting, wicked crimes, rapes, murders, and so on. And that is the effect of shabu. Shabu makes people steal. There were carjackings, robberies, hijackings, all kinds of nasty crimes as a result of all of these nasty drug dealers. But the situation is that the president has ordered a war on drugs and has ordered the police and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency to ensure that this drug problem is dealt with. And as a result, during armed operations where drug dens have been shut down and billions of pesos of shabu has been taken off the street, there are a number of people who lost their lives. I think it's about 6,000 or 7,000 according to the Real Numbers PH latest tally that I haven't been keeping up to date with, to be honest. Just because I haven't really had the time. But what I can say is this: it's nowhere near 10,000, 12,000, 30,000. These ridiculous figures spruaned by the opposition, the likes of Trillianis and the Liberal Party, when the real story is, of course, if you are fighting a war, there will be casualties. There will be even innocent bystanders who will be caught up in the ricochet of bullets. That's the situation. If you had 4 million drug addicts, if the UK had 4 million drug addicts, all addicted to shabu, wheeling guns, operating inside every single neighborhood, every single barangay, selling drugs to children, what would the UK government do? What right at all has members of parliament who we've elected, and I am sorry about that, I'd like to apologise to my dear Filipino friends, I'd like to apologise to my fellow supporters of President Duterte. I'm not interested what party these MPs came from. But what I would say is they've been listening to fake news, they've been listening to the fake news of the opposition, they've come up with their own conclusion, they've been listening to De Lima, they don't have any right to interfere in the justice system of the Philippines. The Philippines is an independent sovereign nation. It was even proved recently, I believe a year or so ago, where the UN Human Rights said that the Philippines can deal with its own matters and has its own courts and internal legal procedures in the Philippines. If that was the case, why did that happen? Why did the UN make such a statement? The fact is, the Philippines should be able to deal with this matter themselves. In the due course of time, De Lima may be freed on all of the charges, and that's fine, and that is a process. But what have these MPs got anything to do with it whatsoever? What they should be doing is helping the Philippines in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic and supporting the government. There's nothing wrong with discussing, there's nothing wrong with freedom of speech, but to interfere with the sovereign nation and the justice system of the Philippines is a big no-no. And I utterly condemn this ridiculous letter, and I am only sorry to the Philippine Ambassador to the United Kingdom that you have to deal with such matters. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope this gets sorted out soon.